Hi, the volume may be a little strange. I hope there's not a squeaky little sound in the background, because there tends to be with this microphone, and I hope there isn't. But if there is, let's just pretend it's a little mouse or something. Yeah, that was an attempt at drawing a mountain. See, what I wanted to try and do was maybe treat this as a little journal in which we're trying to express something about Conker's Bad Fur Day, and we're trying to see how to do it. I'm going to lower the microphone. Okay, yeah, that's going to sound different, I think. I'm not sure if it's going to be good enough, but okay, these are two little mountains on Conker's Bad Fur Day land. I want to try and investigate visually, because maybe visually we can get at aspects of the game as if it were a journalistic kind of study of how to express something about this game that we're trying to express, right? And something I've been interested in recently is this idea that you arrive. Let's say, this is the windmill. You get here, there's this sign. Okay, that's too much detail, but to the left there is the wasp's nest. To the right there is the bee queen's nest. And they want the same thing. There is this sense that these are the good people. This is the law, right? This is literally the representative of the law, the king, the queen. And okay. And then these are outlaws, gangsters, and yet the gangsters want the same as the lawful people. They're all interested in the same thing, which is gaining access to the throne, you could say, gaining access to the country that they're ruling, or gaining access to control over the country, control over the beehive itself. And yet, in a sense, they're both equally the same in the sense that they both have the same interests. The interests aren't different. The interests are control over the hive. However, so that is one thing we perceive visually when entering into this game. And Conker is asked to take one. Conker is here with his little bushy tail, and he is sent over here to pick up the stolen hive and bring it back here. And now there are too many lines in the drawing. So Conker is bringing the stolen hive from one place to the other. And the queen is like, thank you for bringing the hive. Here is some money. Here is some money because you brought the hive back, so thank you. That's what you get in exchange. In fact, Conker asks for something in exchange. He says, please, can I get, something in exchange? What can I get for doing this favor for you? You, the king of the country, the monarch of a country, have asked me to go and steal the control of the hive, which you previously had. The control of that hive is now in the hands of outlaws, gangsters, people who do not represent the official law of the world, right? And you've said, go there, take that hive back and give it back to me. And you say, okay, can I get something in exchange? And you, the king, says, yes, in exchange you will get money. Money is what you'll get in exchange. And money, in a sense, gives you control, because with money you can then ask people to do things for you, right? Precisely, this monarch asks you to do something for money. Without money, this monarch wouldn't have been able to ask you to do something. So you're doing something because of money. Money is giving you power. Money, in a sense, is getting you closer to having the sort of power that a king has. Right? Money is getting you closer and closer to the heights of the kinds of power that we see in this game. And of course, at the end, you end up being someone with probably the most money in the whole of the video game world. In this video game world, there are people with money, but no one has as much money as you have at the end. And that seems to be the reason why you are crowned king and you sit on your little throne as king, because the game doesn't say it's because of money, but I think that you could say that. I think you could say that. Because the game is a constant quest for gaining more and more money. The game, in a sense, let's see if we can erase this. In order to erase this, I first want to turn this white. Okay. So, the game is taking on a little quest, and all you do is do favors to people. People say, hey, can you do this for me? And you're like, sure, but only if I get something in exchange. What will you get in exchange? Money. Money, money, money. You're following this trail and gaining more money, and at the end you just get more and more money until you reach the actual bank vault of the king, and you become owner of that bank vault because now you have all that money, and all that money belongs to you. And in fact, the king seems to live inside of a bank, inside of the feral reserve, because he's a cat. So let's write that down. And so that's something the game seems to be doing. You're doing stuff for other people. People's asking you to do things, and sometimes you see, like at the beginning, the queen, the official law, asks you to do something against the gangsters with their cigars. But sometimes the gangsters ask you to do something for them against someone else. And you're like, sure, you will do anything. You don't really seem to have any side you side with. You will just do anything that either side is asking you to do. And the things that people ask you to do get more and more extreme until you become king. Basically, that seems to be almost like the game in a nutshell, I would say. Okay, yeah. Okay, so let's continue talking about this, but now we're going to talk about it from a different perspective and trying to add images to this video. Okay, my head is cut off. It's okay. So let's try and add some images to this game. How are we going to do this? It's boring. That's weird. Oh, shit. Well, we can continue to talk from the point we were talking about now, which is the beehive. The beehive is a place where you're asked to do something that you don't want to do, but as long as you're given money to do it, you will do it. And that's okay. I think, therefore, there is some kind of let's say metaphor or something to the use of the words nasty and nice in the sign. The sign says nasty, nice, and it points in two different directions. As far as I can tell, there could be several meanings to that. One is that it is saying to the right is nice, and that's where the queen is. The queen's nice. She's a nice person. You know, she's not attacking you. She has no problem with you. She's fine. You know, she's a nice person, and she's law-abiding as well, which is sort of important for them. And then nasty is like a pathway that takes you, on the one hand, to war. There's the entrance to war, and then the gangsters. So those two places seem to be a little bit associated. There's like war and gangsters, and then there's queen and the farm, and it's all fun, happy farmland things. And then the other side is war, the gangsters, maybe some other area from the nighttime section. And so the gangsters are not law-abiding, and they come at you directly. Your first encounter is that they come at you directly with weapons, and they're attacking you, and so on. So there's more of a feeling of these are bad guys, right? Stereotypically speaking. But you're working for the queen, so the queen's the good guy. You're working for her, so it's fine, right? Everything's fine there, and that's the sign that's being shown in the center. However, in the game, sometimes you do things for the gangsters, sometimes you do things for the law-abiding people, sometimes you do things that go against law-abiding people. Sometimes law-abiding people want you to do things that are sort of not great, and sometimes people who don't abide by the law want you to do things that are actually quite great and that you would want to do anyway, and so on. I mean, mostly in this game, you get this duality between what do you want to do, what do you not want to do. It seems as if Conker doesn't really care. You're not shown a big sense of caring from Conker. Conker almost seems to be happy to help anyone. He seems to have no problem with that. But he does want a reward in exchange, and hopefully money. So I think there is a way in which, for example, in the center of the game, we have these two issues, which are, okay, first of all, you are having a bad fur day. So this is not a good day, right? This is a nasty day. You're not having a nice day, you're having a nasty day. This is a bad day. It's a bad day. You're not having a good day. And there is this sense, I think, implied in the game that partly you're having a bad day because you got lost down the wrong path. You left the pub and you took a wrong turn. You went in a wrong direction. If you had gone the other direction, you might have just gotten home and everything would have been fine, and it might have been a good day, despite the hangover and everything. So there is a feeling that you went in the wrong direction, and that therefore there is something about directions. Are you going in this direction, or are you going in that other direction? And which direction, will you choose? Which one will mean something, and which one will mean something else, kind of thing. Yeah.
And then I think something else we could say about this is that in your bad day, you encounter many such divisions between one path and another path. One path takes in this direction, the other in another direction, and you're presented with a choice that seems as if one side is good and the other is evil, kind of thing. That's like a choice you're being made to make again and again. And it's made in a way that makes it seem as if you have a choice between good and evil and you should choose between them, or something like that. Or even as if at the very least there is good and evil as a choice is something. It's something in this game. Like, for example, one of them is, well, at the beginning, as we said, the sign between nasty and nice. That takes you in one direction and the other. And also, well, you see, for example, Poop Mountain. When you reach Poop Mountain, Conker looks at Poop Mountain and is like, okay, I could go there, or I could go in this other direction, which takes me to the farm. He looks back and forth between them, and then he chooses the farm. The player doesn't need to follow what he chooses, but Conker is like, okay, let's go to the farm. The farm seems like a better choice between these two choices. That's the same he did when he exited the pub, right? He looks to side and to side, and he's like, okay, that looks like a better choice, and he takes the other choice. And it's funny also because, so here, excrement is presented as the bad choice and non-excrement is presented as the good choice. There is something, I think, in the way that, how do you put this? Windy is mainly formed of, like, two of the biggest visual symbols in Windy are this big honey mountain and this big excrement mountain. And they're very different kinds of mountains, because one is a mountain traditionally of something bad, something you don't want. And honey is traditionally something good. Milk and honey are good things. They're things that people want. They represent goodness and sweetness and niceness in this world. So that's on one hand, you've got that going on. And also that when you make this choice between Poopland and the farm, you're also choosing between, for example, things that are being produced. A farm produces life, but life grows at the farm. New vegetables flourish, animals live and are born there, and it also produces food, so it's something that you then ingest often, right? It's often a place where you produce food, animal or vegetable, and therefore you ingest it and you gain sustenance, and therefore there is a sort of gaining of life from that food. Whereas the poop world is a world of excrement and therefore of excretion. You're excreting life after you've eaten. You're getting rid of the excess toxins. You're purifying your body of everything that was sort of toxic and needed to come out. So it is not a place of ingestion and of food and of nourishment. I mean, it is for the soil, I suppose, if excrement's not nourishing the soil. And it is, as the game shows, for insects, for dung beetles. And so the game is also showing you there is an ecosystem of people who seem to, I don't know if the dung beetles are shown to ingest excrement, but at least they live around it. It is their sustenance. It is their world for them. But for the other animals, it is the opposite of the sustenance, right? It is the end of their sustenance, in a sense that what is ejected after the process of obtaining sustenance, after the process of eating, you eject all of that stuff.
So, in a sense, there seems to be a theme of eating and not eating, excreting, right? There's a theme of eating and excreting. I perceive there's a theme of things that are ingested and then things that are excreted, and the duality between the two worlds. Maybe even the associations of good and evil between the two. That it is evil to excrete. Excrete is something low, dung. It's sort of dangerous and bad and low, and you don't want to associate it with it. It's low life, in a sense. And then eating, ingesting, is a pleasurable, high-minded, high activity for high individuals who, it's as if eating is, for sort of high-minded individuals or something like that. That's like a tendency I see between these two worlds. It's bad to lose things, right? Excretion is losing stuff. You're losing things from within you. They're coming out of you and being lost forever. They will never come back. You're not obtaining them again. They're going away from you. And of course, then contrasted with gaining stuff, ingesting stuff, putting stuff inside of you, and gaining, obtaining stuff. And of course, there are other kinds of gaining. You can gain life. You can gain sex. A lot of characters want to obtain sex and pleasure of that kind, or different kinds of sex and pleasure and so on. So that's also something to obtain. And then often the person who is obtained loses something, especially if the obtaining is done by force. So, Count Bachelor wants to obtain the life of others, but others don't want that life to be obtained from them. Others need to die for Count Bachelor. Count Bachelor kills people so that those people, don't get what they want. They lose what they want. And so Count Bachelor obtains stuff. There is this dialogue between losing and obtaining.